Our friend Parker introduced us to Jeff here, who's got this very unique Lamborghini Miura. First, we're going to get a little bit of the background and history of the car, how he picked it up. He's actually got a few awards with it. Not surprising looking at this car, but very rare car. Let's check it out. So we got Jeff here, 69 Miura Lamborghini S.
You got it. Yeah, they built 800 Miuras altogether, and the S's they built anywhere from 150 to 250. They're not really sure of exactly how many.
Sure. And the S's were in the middle of the production.
Yes. Yeah, the S was actually an updated version of the original P400, so there were some running changes, stiffening of the frame, thicker sheet metal on some of the components, and just, you have to understand they built so few of these cars that the research and development was basically happening while the car was in production, and the customers were the guinea pig.
And one really cool part about this is that we're in your office.
Yes, in my jam-packed office.
I love it.
So,
you got a lot of cool stuff in here.
Yes, it's something with the stuff that I've collected for years and years and years.
And I think the first question that comes to mind for me is, how did you come across this car? How did you end up owning it?
Real unusual kind of story. I've been collecting cars since I was a kid, so this has always been a dream car.
Yeah.
I was visiting some relatives up in Oregon, and one of my aunts in conversation said to me, you know, it's too bad you didn't used to come up here when you were a kid. There was this old guy that used to show a Lamborghini at a bunch of the shows, an orange one. And I go, well, what model was it? And she said, well, I don't know, I just know it's a Lamborghini. My sister Connie, who was a news anchor up there, I mentioned it to her and I said, hey, listen, you gotta, if there's any way of trying to track this down, ask around. Everybody knew her up there. Ask around and see if you can come up with something. Well, lo and behold, one of the cameramen for her network remembered shooting a story out at this guy's house where he said, yeah, this guy had this cool orange car, and I think it was a Lamborghini. I did a cold call. This guy lived on 800 acres in Oregon in a little shack. I went up a quarter-mile driveway, dirt driveway, knocked on the door. Nobody answered. I finally turned around. As I was walking back, a little old guy hunched over, comes out to the door and says, what can I help you with? I told him I was visiting relatives. I'm a car guy. I heard you're a car guy. Maybe you got some stories for me.
At this point, you didn't know what car it was exactly.
I had no idea. All I knew it was an orange Lamborghini, and the very first Miura that was built was orange. So it's kind of a trademark color to the car. So I thought, if this is possible, this would be unreal. He takes me into the house, shows me all kinds of photo albums. He has cars of the 30s and 40s and everything. We're talking, really entertaining old guy. And he had a picture of a Miura, an orange Miura, on his refrigerator. And I asked him, I said, well, Earl, you know, what's that orange car in the fridge? And he said, well, son, that's a Lamborghini Miura. And I go, oh my God, I've never seen one. That's gorgeous. And he says, well, it's out in the garage. You want to take a look? And I just about shit my pants and said, no, this can't be happening. He takes me out in the garage, pulls the cover off, and I'm like, oh my God, this car exists. And that was it. And
that's when you knew.
That's when I knew, and I chased it for 5 years. I'd go up and visit him, and I was always nervous that somebody else was going to find out about it. But basically, at that point, he was in his mid-90s, and he had outlived everybody that knew about the car. And the car hadn't run for 15 years, so it basically sat in his garage, and everybody kind of forgot about it.
Yeah.
So there was this urban myth floating around, but nobody could track the car down, and I ended up, after he passed away, getting it through the estate. It was really funny because when I first came across the car, I thought, if I ever am able to purchase this car, I want to have proof that this story was not, it wasn't just a story, it was for real. So from the moment I went up there, I was photographing his house, where the car was, and I kept the pictures over the years and have put them together in an album.
Oh, cool.
And pictures like, this is Earl and his brother when he bought the car, as his retirement gift. So he was in his 60s when he bought the car, and this is the two of them when they're in their 80s inside the little garage that he kept.
Is that where it was sitting?
That's where it was sitting when he showed it to me. So this was leading up to their ranch. They called it Hidden Valley Ranch, and he had actually built a gold mining town there that he was going to have as a tourist attraction, but then when he found out how much insurance was, he never even opened it, but he had made brochures and everything. This is basically how I found the car, and
that's awesome.
you know, the barn find, and here's old Earl.
And a USA sticker, I love that.
And you didn't notice it on the car before, I'm sure, because it's not there, but while I slowly started going through the car and reconditioning it, there is the USA sticker that I was able to take a heat gun and pull it off. It didn't damage any of the paint, but that's the sticker that came off the car. People think that when I found the car, it was in the condition it is. I had the foresight to know that I could massage the car, keep the original paint. I have a friend that does paintless dent repair. I had him pull. There was a handprint in the front hood.
Really?
That he was able to get out, but I wanted to have an authentic original car. I didn't want to have a restored car.
Yeah.
So as you see the car, the paint, the upholstery, the trim is all original. It's never been repainted. It has
nothing?
Nothing.
No way.
So basically what I've done over the years is slowly but surely, because I enjoy driving the car, taking apart components, cleaning them, reconditioning, painting them. I redid the suspension. The trunk, for example, had been eaten up by mice. And the first time I looked at the car, I mentioned to Earl, I said, you know, Earl, you have to do something about those mice. They're going to destroy the car. The next time I went up to visit him, I checked to see if he had done anything. I opened the trunk, and there was a stack of newspapers in there. I go, Earl, what's the deal with the newspapers? He said, well, that way they can make their nest out of the newspaper. He didn't want to kill them, but he was giving them other materials other than his car to use. So I thought that was a good one. I mean, you saw the front end. This is what it looked like when I found it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So the culmination of all of that hard work and everything was this past year, was the 50th anniversary of the Lamborghini Miura. There was a special class at Pebble Beach, Miuras only, and I was invited to show there. And I ended up taking best in class, so the car was awarded first in its class at Pebble Beach, and this is against restored cars. So an original unrestored car won its class. And then I was also honored with one of the, they give a handful of special awards during the show. I was given the award for the best post-war preservation car of the entire show, which I was very proud of.
Cow.
These are notes I kept. I love these kind of notes where it's bad oil leak from oil filter, warning, do not drive, Earl, you know, so he had these little notes all over the car, you know, don't try to start it, don't do this, you know, don't do that. These are just various pictures, and what a lot of people don't know is on a car like this, a coach-built car, every single part on the car has the car's job number stamped into it. So with muscle cars and that, people talk about matching numbers where basically the number on the block corresponds with the number on the car. Well, on this car, every panel, every door panel, every piece of trim, every body panel has a car's number. So I went through the car piece by piece and documented all the numbers so that somebody can make sure they have a truly matching number car. And there's pieces I've had off the car while I was reconditioning it where there's 2 or 3 holes drilled because they didn't get it right the first time. And I mean, these plates from Bertone, when I had them off on the underside, it has engraved with like an engraving tool the job number of the car, the date they were put on there, and it's, I mean, to me that's fascinating that, you know, you got a car that real people put together. I call those perfect imperfections. On a car like this, the paint was, the tail section was done at one point and then doors were hung somewhere else and painted. So the paint actually is off a shade
I
here.
noticed that a little bit when we were in the sun.
Exactly.
I was wondering if it was angle or it blows my mind. This is original paint. It
Yeah.
just glows.
Most people, if they would have found the car in the condition I did, they would have immediately shipped it off to a professional
take it to a
restorer,
shop and-
pay $300,000-400,000 for restoration, and have just another restored Lamborghini Miura. People come up to me at shows and say, "Who painted the car?" And I say, "Lamborghini did, 50 years ago." And then, of course, what it's worth. Everybody wants to know what's it worth, how many were made, how many are still around, questions like that. What did you pay for? What's it worth now?
What are these valued at right now?
2 years ago, the twin to this car, there was also an original car, but same color, same interior and everything. A car that I had done some work on at one point, had more miles on it, and the paint was nowhere near as nice as this, but because it was an original unrestored car, it sold for $2.5 million.
Wow.
Yeah. This is a car that numerous collectors are after. Guys with some serious money, serious collectors.
Sure.
And the fact is that there's not enough good ones to go around where the right car will command a huge premium, where somebody could say, well, I saw one that sold for $1 million. Why did that one sell for $2.5 million? It's because the person that bought that car only collects low mileage original cars.
Yep.
And everything else that has come to market is a car that maybe was in an accident. These were notorious for engine fires. The way the fuel rails are set up. If you go on YouTube, there's all kinds of clips of a yellow Miura that burned to the ground in London, and it's because the fuel lines would shrink and dry up. They'd get a fuel leak right above the exhaust and everything, and you'd have a huge fire. I was asked one time while waiting in the awards line at a show, my son was with me in the car, and somebody came up to the window and said, "Do you mind if I ask you a few questions?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." I was kind of tired, and they said, "Is this what you would consider a forever car?" And I said, "What do you mean by that?" And he goes, "Is this a car you plan to keep forever?" Being me, I just looked at him. I said, "Listen, I've got it to the point where in my will it states that when I pass away, I'll be cremated. My remains will be put into a container, and that container is to be placed in the car, and whether my children inherit the car, whether the car is sold, part of the deal is that I will remain with the car for the rest."
Oh, that's awesome.
And the guy said, "Really?" And I go, "Yes." And he left, and that was it, and I didn't think twice about it. The next day, I had friends calling me who were reading Auto Week's online blog from Pebble Beach, and they're saying, "Where did you come up with that crazy story that your ashes are..." And I'm like, "Oh my God, it was a reporter that was asking me all these questions." But yeah, I have no thoughts of selling it. The prices, I couldn't afford to buy this car now if I wanted to. I'm very fortunate that I was able to purchase it when I did, and this car has gotten me into so many different events. I was invited to show it at the Super Bowl 2 years ago for a private party.
Holy cow.
Yeah, Lamborghini shipped the car there. So, I've shown the car extensively. Provenance, I've won the Lamborghini Nationals Best of Show this year at Pebble Beach. So this is kind of judged to be the best one in existence. So it's kind of like, I dig owning that. I
bet.
Yeah.
Well, it's an honor to be able to check it out. This has been awesome.
Well, it's always fun sharing that, with people that are interested or want to know more about it. I love sharing the history of the car and that.
It'd be cool to see what Earl thought today. I'm sure he'd loved it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think he really would. Now, wait a minute.
Yep.
I gotta give you instructions on it.
Okay.
Okay, nothing in the back pockets, no wallets or anything.
Yep.
The easiest way to get in the car is to lower your ass in the seat and then swing your legs in. Got all the gear?
There's a foot pad. Yeah, we're good to go.
And of course, you will notice there's no radio.
Oh, yeah. You don't need a radio in this car.
The beautiful music, the engine.
Exactly.
look at cars in the context of when they were built. And I mean, this had to be crazy driving something like this.
This car was 20,000 new in 68?
Well, 66 when they came out, they were basically pushing $20,000, which was an extremely expensive car at that point.
Yep.
You had to be somebody pretty special, entertainment industry, some rich fool to be able to afford one.
Surprise the Lamborghini dealership. What do you think about the newer Lamborghinis? It's obviously a completely different car.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing car, but to me it's kind of different than the original concept of what a Lamborghini was.
Yeah. Ooh. 430. Bunch of Huracans. Bunch of Ferraris. They rearranged the showroom floor so we could do a video shoot here at the Lamborghini dealership, North Los Angeles. It's awesome to see how much you love driving it. It's so cool.
Well, I mean, when you hear that noise and you hear the engine start screaming and everything, it's like, yeah, this is fun.
I love that it's in your office.
I do too.
That's so awesome.
People will ask me, they go, well, where do you keep it? And I go, you know what, I love looking at it so much, I keep it in my office. And they're like, how do you do that? And I gotta explain.
Jeff, thank you very much.
No, thank Parker for this. This is all on Parker.
Thank you, Parker. you made this trip special to us. This is awesome.
I'm glad.
This is a lot different than what we usually shoot, and I love it because it's different.
Well, I heard I might have to take you drifting in it, but that ain't gonna happen.
We got to put the original tires on first.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You know, people are like, well, aren't you afraid to get a chip in the paint or something? And of course I don't want to, but I view it as just another part of the story of the car. I went out on my 50th birthday, and it was my special day. I've decided I'm going to take the car out for a run. I pick up a friend. We go to a restaurant for lunch and everything. As I'm coming back down the Calabasas grade, a truck slows down in front of me, and a giant chunk of asphalt comes flying at the windshield. There's nothing I could do, and my perfect windshield, right in the line of vision, got a chip in the glass. And this is special thick glass. It's actually part of the structure of the car. For a moment I freaked out. I said, used every swear word in the book, and then I thought, you know what, there's nothing you can do about it. I've had a great day. It was my birthday. I had a good lunch with a friend. And you know what? Every time I get in the car behind the wheel, I see that and I go, I remember on my birthday when that giant chunk of asphalt.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you again.
You're very welcome.
It's been awesome.
It has been fun. And you guys gave me a reason to take the car out for a drive today, so I got to thank you for that.
Oh, yes.
Yes.